بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم 2 فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب عليم قالوا طائركم معكم إن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردن الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاءتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا قالوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها هبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النحال فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون ولئن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا قالوا عنها مؤرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعما إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إنا أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أحد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أذل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تأكلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لتمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يأكلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشاها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فتور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير فاعترفوا بذنبهم فسحقا لأصحاب السعير إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور أأمنتم من في السماء أن يخسف بكم الأرض فإذا هي تمور أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نذير ولقد كذب الذين من قبلهم فكيف كان نكير أولم يروا إلى الطير فوقهم صافات ويقبضن ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن إنه بكل شيء بصير أمن هذا الذي هو جند لكم ينصركم من دون الرحمن إن الكافرون إلا في غرور أمن هذا الذي يرزقكم إن أمسك رزقه بل لجوا في عتو ونفور أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى أمن يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم قل هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون قل هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض وإليه تحشرون ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين قل إنما العلم عند الله وإنما أنا نذير مبين فلما رأوه زلفة سيئت وجوه الذين كفروا وقيل هذا الذي كنتم به تدعون قل أرأيتم إن أهلكني الله ومن معي أو رحمنا فمن يجير الكافرين من عذاب أليم قل هو الرحمن آمنا به وعليه توكلنا فستعلمون من هو في ضلال مبين قل أرأيتم إن أصبح ماؤكم غورا فمن يأتيكم بماء معين صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات صل على بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے تربت سے علی اصغر کی تربت سے علی اصغر کی آواز یہ آتی ہے اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے یاد آئے بہت مجھ کو تیرا جھولا جھلانا ہے کبھی سینے سے لگا کے تیرا لوری سنانا جب ریت گرم پیاری ماں جب ریت گرم پیاری ماں میرے تن کو جلاتی ہے اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے پیاس کی شدت سے گلا سوکھا پڑا ہے زخمی گلا اس میں ماں درد کھڑا ہے تربت میں اکیلا ہوں میں، تربت میں اکیلا ہوں میں، تنہائی ڈراتی ہے، اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے، اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے، جھولے میں پڑا اصغر دن رات ہے رویا ہے، جب پیاس بجھی اس کی تو پھر چین سے سویا، مقتل میں سکینہ پھر کیوں، مقتل میں سکینہ پھر کیوں، اسے ڈھونڈنے جاتی ہے، اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے، دروازے پہ خیمہ کہ ایک بی بی کھڑی ہے، مر مر کے جو مقتل کی طرف دیکھ رہی ہے، ایک خون بھرے چولے کو، ایک خون بھرے چولے کو آنکھوں سے لگاتی ہے، اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے، اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے، وہ شام غریبا کو عجب ظلم ہوا تھا، ہے سر ننگی تھی ہر بی بی، ہر ایک خیمہ جلا تھا، عباس کا ثانی زہرا، عباس کا ثانی زہرا ہے فرض نبھاتی ہے، اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو، مجھے پیاس ستاتی ہے، اختر یہ ہواؤں نے جو پیغام دیا ہے اصغر تجھ صغرا نے بہت یاد کیا ہے، ایک بار مدینے آو، ایک بار مدینے آو، بیمار بلاتی ہے، اے ماں تم مجھے پاس بلا لو، मुझे प्यास सताते हैं. पर محمد وآل محمد صلاة اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم فذي إثال ثواب مرحومة إن كل مرحومين. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. واللعنة الدائمة الباقية على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الإنسان ما غرك بربك الكريم الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك. كلا بل تكذبون بالدين وإن عليكم لحافظين كراما كاتبين يعلمون ما تفعلون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد. My dear respected elders, my brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have assembled this evening to remember Marhuma Dr. Sakina by Rajabali Rashid, who was buried here in Peterborough. And this is her Majlis in her memory, being the 40th. May I request you all please to remember the Marhuma and gift her Surah Fatiha. Bismillah. May I also take the opportunity on behalf of you all to extend our condolences to the relatives of the Marhuma, those who are unable to attend her funeral but are present today. Our sincere condolences on the passing away of Marhuma, Dr. Sakina by Rashid. And join me in praying to Allah Azza wa Jal, Ya Rabb, forgive all the sins of Marhuma. Ya Allah, shower your mercy upon Marhuma at all times. Please recite one salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin. Whatever I have prepared today, I dedicate this to the ruh, to the soul of Marhuma Sakina by Rashid. Many of us have lost relatives, those who have passed away, our parents, our friends, our relatives, and we would like to know as to what is happening to them. But there is no way that we can have any communication with them. They do not talk to us. We cannot communicate to them. So what is it exactly that is happening to them? This is something we always would like to know. We know of this incident where Imam Ali bin Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh once came to the graveyard and looked at all the graves, and addressing all those who were inside the graves, he said that, "O the dwellers of the graves, whatever wealth you had left has already been distributed. The houses that you had built, they are destroyed. Your wives have got remarried." Imam mentioned all these things. Those companions who were with Imam alayhi salam asked Imam, "Ya Mawla, do they hear you when you say all this? Do they see you? Do they hear you? Do they understand what you are saying?" And Imam Ali alayhi salam said, "Of course, they know that. Whatever I'm addressing them. But there is barzakh, there is a barrier. They cannot communicate with us. If there was any possibility, and if they were given permission to them to talk to us, they would advise us, 'O you who are alive, apply taqwa. Be God-wary.' They would only advise us of that." Imam said that this is what they would tell us. What is happening to them, we do not know. The verses of the Holy Quran that I have recited, in some ways, is a kind of an alert to awaken us, because Allah Azza wa Jal in Surat Infitar, Surah number 82, from verse number 6, is asking a question. Ya ayyuhal insanu ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. Allah is asking, "O human being, what has deceived you about your generous Lord? Rabbukal kareem. What has deceived you about your generous Lord?" Who is this generous Lord? In the next verse, Allah Azza wa Jal says, "Alladhi khalaqaka fasawwaka fa'adalak." He is the one who created you. He is the one who perfectly shaped you. And He is the one who then made you balanced. Came in this world, and you are in such a position that with all that Allah Azza wa Jal has given you, including intelligence and including all the other organs of the body, Allah has made you balanced. Who is your Lord? The next verse continues. في أي سورة ما شاء ركبك. In the form He pleased to compose you. Right? You can just imagine, you can just think just now. Okay? God forbids if Allah Azza wa Jal was to make us in the form of any one kind of an animal. How would we have looked like? But the way He has made us, the way He has created us, and the form that we have, Subhanallah, glory be to Allah, for He is the best creator. And then Allah Azza wa Jal says, كلا بل تكذبون بالدين. Now, after Allah Azza wa Jal giving us or showing us of His power and of the wisdom which is within ourselves, Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, you reject the judgment and the afterlife. You reject the judgment and the afterlife. Then Allah Azza wa Jal tells us what is together with us. I request your attention because Quran, which is nur, which is light, gives us light. Quran educates us and it tells us what is with us. Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ لَحَافِظِينَ. And most surely there are watchers over you, kiraman katibin, the honorable writers. Many times we jokingly say, when we want to do something which is, God forbid, something which is wrong, okay? We say, Malaika joy che aparne. These angels are watching over us. Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ لَحَافِظِينَ. And there are honorable watchers, or there are watchers over you, kiraman katibin, honorable writers, who make note of each and every act of ours. And after that, Allah Azza wa Jal says, يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ, and who know what you do and why you do it. From verse number 6 onwards up to verse number 12, Allah Azza wa Jal gives us an indication about what is the state of a person. Let's go to the first one. I'm not going to take much time, but request your attention, inshallah. When you leave from here, you will take something with you, inshallah. Okay? And this is something, and I address myself first before I tell you, is all to awake us, to alert us. Because we lead a life, maybe God forbids, a life where our connection with Allah Azza wa Jal is only at the time when we are in need of Him. Otherwise, our connection with Allah is not there. Allah Azza wa Jal is asking this question, Ya ayyuhal insanu, O mankind, ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem, what has deceived you about your generous Lord? Let us take assistance from the one who was door to the city of knowledge, Imam Ali bin Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Sermon number 222 of Nahjul Balagha. In the beginning, Imam Ali alayhi salam recites this verse, Ya ayyuhan nasu ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. Okay? After that, Imam now explains, what does Allah mean when he says, ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem? What has deceived you about your generous Lord? Imam Ali alayhi salam says, O man, what has made you bold to commit sins? What has made you bold to commit sins? What has deceived you about your Allah? And what has made you satisfied with the destruction of yourself? When a person disconnects himself with Allah, he is going towards destruction, not towards prosperity. Imam Ali alayhi salam is telling us, what has made you go towards destruction? Okay? Is there no cure for your ailment or no awakening from your sleep? Your disconnection with Allah Azza wa Jal, Imam is telling us, is a kind of a sleep. You are sleeping. You are not awake. And then Imam says, do you not have pity on yourself as you have on others? If someone is in the sun, and he is literally like hot sun today, 34 degrees, okay? And he is suffering. You feel pity on him, you take him from there and try to bring him under the shade, give him water, give him food. Imam is asking, don't you have pity on yourself? Remember, when you disconnect with Allah Azza wa Jal, you are destroying yourself. And then Imam says, as to what is the cure? What is the cure now? If all these things are the ones that makes us go far away from Allah, what is the cure? Imam says, be obedient to Allah and love His remembrance. Be obedient to Allah and love His remembrance. And picture to yourself that you are running away while He is approaching you. Bring that imagination that you are in such a state that you are running away, but Allah Azza wa Jal is approaching you. Allah Azza wa Jal wants you to go near to Him, but you are running away from Him. Don't do that. He is calling you to His forgiveness and concealing your faults with His kindness while you are fleeing from Him towards others. Ya ayyuhan nasu ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. O mankind, what has deceived you about your Lord who is generous? The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam, whenever he used to recite this verse, he then used to say, what is it that has made human being go away from Allah, run away from Allah? Gharrahu jahluhu. It is their ignorance that has deceived them. And that is why Imam Ali alayhi salam in the very first khutbah of Nahjul Balagha says that awwaluddin ma'rifatuhu, the first thing about religion is to have knowledge, recognize, know, understand who your Lord is. It's important. Tawheed is a very important part of our life. If we lose Tawheed, we lose everything. Then whatever the other acts may be. The second point I want to make over here is the present situation. What is our present situation? Where Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ لَحَافِظِينَ. And there are watchers over you, kiraman katibin, honorable writers. There is a narration from our seventh Imam, Imam Musa al-Kadhim, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. He says that there is an angel Allah has appointed to record your good deeds. And there is an angel Allah has appointed to record your evil deeds. Imam says that whenever you make an intention, not you do an act, when you make an intention to do a good deed. For example, you make an intention that you want to give out in charity. You want to help someone in need. Or you want to recite Quran, for example. Whenever you make that niyyah, that intention, the angel who records, I don't know who is where, I am just making a sign over here. The angel who records the good deeds talks to the angel who records the evil deeds that I can smell a fragrance. Your intention. I can smell a fragrance. And Allah Azza wa Jal orders that angel to record that even though you have not done the deed. And God forbids, when we make an intention to do an evil deed, the angel who is recording the evil deed will say to the angel who records good deeds, I can smell something foul. I can smell something which is not pleasant. But Allah does not order the angel to record that deed until you record that deed. And according to another narration, it is said, Allah tells the angel and gives him 7 hours not to record the deed, that evil deed. That 7 hours span is the time for a person to have that regret, seek forgiveness, and return to Allah Azza wa Jal. This is kiraman katibin. They note down everything. So if they note down everything, what is going to happen to all our deeds? And this is where I want to explain. Whenever we go to a court and whenever we want to ask for something which belongs to us, the court is going to ask you for witness. That witness could be a document, that witness could be a person, but it will ask you for witness. Now, my dear elders, my brothers and my sisters, please listen to this. For every act of ours, there are 7 witnesses. We do good deed, there are 7 witnesses to say that. God forbids, if we do evil deed, there are 7 witnesses. I'm not going to mention all 7. I want to mention something which is very important, which should awaken us, please. Okay? Of course, the first witness is Allah Azza wa Jal himself. In Surah Yunus, verse number 61, he says, وَلَا تَعْمَلُونَ مِنْ عَمَلٍ إِلَّا كُنَّا عَلَيْكُمْ شُهُودًا. Simple. Nor do you, O people, do any work, but we are witness over you when you engage in it. So the first witness is Allah Azza wa Jal. He is aware of everything. Okay. Let's go to the next one. The next one is in Surah An-Nur, verse number 24. Allah Azza wa Jal says, يَوْمَ تَشْهَدُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَلْسِنَتَهُمْ وَأَرْجُلُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. On the day when their tongues, their hands, and their feet will testify as to what they were doing. This same tongue with which we speak, I'm speaking just now. these hands which we use, these legs, in order to keep ourselves healthy, we do all the exercises, right? Bodybuilding, okay? Make myself strong, make myself healthy. These organs of the body on the day of judgment are going to be witness. Right? We will have no control then. The third witness, Allah Azza wa Jal says, Surah Fussilat, verse number 41. وَقَالُوا لِجُلُودِهِمْ لِمَ شَهِدْتُمْ عَلَيْنَا. They will say to their skins, julud, skins. They will say to their skins, why did you bear witness against us? Quran says, the skins will reply, قالوا أنطقنا الله الذي أنطق كل شيء وهو خلقكم أول مرة وإليه ترجعون. They shall respond, Allah made us speak. Allah made us speak, the same one who has made everything else speak. It seems you had forgotten that He created you the first time, and to Him you shall be returned. So, organs of our body, this skin. I apply ointment, I apply cream, all this in order to keep it smooth. All this skin on the day of judgment will become witness to our acts. And the last one I want to mention is, we read Surah Al-Zilzal, and I'm sure many of you know, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا وَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضُ أَثْقَالَهَا وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا. When the earth will take out all its treasures, when there is going to be earthquake, it will take out all the treasures. Insan at that time is going to ask, وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانِ, and the man will say, مَا لَهَا, what is with this earth? Allah says, يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. On that day, the earth will relate its information about the good and the evil deeds of the humans done on it. On this earth, God forbids, if a person is walking arrogantly, if a person thinks that today I am the best, I am from the elite, and he walks arrogantly, thinks there is no one like me, this earth on which we walk is going to give judgment and be a witness to our acts on the day of judgment. And that is why it is narrated that whenever you go to a masjid to pray, don't pray at one particular place. For example, a person is habituated and he says, this is the place where I will pray. Right? So whenever he comes, whether the line of the Jama'at is extended or not, amari jagya che, this is my place. First, that idea, amari jagya koi ni jagya nathi. First, that idea is to go. I'm not saying that someone is saying like this. No, but if someone has got that thing, no, it's not your place. It belongs to Allah. But the narration says that pray at different places in the masjid, so that part of the masjid will bear witness to Allah that this person prayed on me, this person prayed on me at this place, at this place. يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارًا. On that day, the earth will. And of course, Kiramun Katibin, as we have said, these are the ones who are also going to give witness. There are 7 witnesses. The point for me and you to take away tonight is that all this will be of no benefit after we pass away from this world. What will be of benefit is just now to take that guidance from the Quran and try. And especially when we want to do good acts, noble acts, righteous acts, whenever we want to do it, please let us remind ourselves. I've said this before, I remind myself, I remind you, let's have that sincerity. Because Allah Azza wa Jal is not going to measure in quantity, Allah is going to measure in quality. And the first requirement of that quality is sincerity. Do it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And whatever act you do, whenever you want to do it, let me mention one incident over here and then I'll come towards Masa'ib. There was one great alim in Karbala who was once approached by one young boy. And in reality, the young boy wanted to ask a question, that question which was worthwhile to be asked, in that sense that it was a very intelligent question. He said that if you are informed that your death will take place after 7 days, what are you going to do within these next 7 days? These are the last days of your life. What are you going to do? And that Ayatollah, great scholar, replied to him and said, I will do what I have been doing since I was very young. So, what is it that you have been doing since you were young? He said, whenever I wanted to do an act, I would first ask this question to myself, is this something by which Allah Azza wa Jal will be pleased? If Allah will be pleased, I will do this act. If Allah is not pleased, I will not do that act. Here is formula for us. When we remember that all these organs of the body we use, and mostly the tongue that we use, and whatever we speak out and whatever we talk about, that same tongue, that same hands, same legs, these are going to be witness. Shouldn't we all not be careful when we want to do any act? And we find that when we look at the life histories, when you look at the lives of Ma'asumin alayhimus salam, as to how they were careful, especially when it came down in the matter of deciding between who is right and who is wrong. No wonder that a Christian scholar, when studying the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he talks about any aspect of the life of Imam, he talks about the justice of Imam, as to how just Imam Ali alayhi salam was. We pray to Allah Azza wa Jal, may Allah give us tawfiq, inshallah, to understand and to take the guidance from the Holy Quran. Please recite salawat. अज़ादारान इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम, मैं आपके सामने इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम का एक मंज़र पेश करना चाहता हूँ. आप इस पर सोचिए और इमाम को याद कीजिए और इमाम की मज़लूमियत को याद कीजिए. इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम ने जब से आशूर के दिन, यानी इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम जब मदीना छोड़े हैं और मक्का से फिर करबला आए, उस पूरी सफ़र में इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम को बड़ी तकलीफ़ों का सामना करना पड़ा था. और आप जानते हैं कि जब 9 ज़िलहज आएगी तो हम हज़रत मुस्लिम बिन अकील को याद करेंगे. हज़रत बिन मुस्लिम अकील की शहादत 9 ज़ुल्हिज्जा को हुई थी. ख़बर इमाम को रास्ते में मिली جو امام کا سفیر تھا، اس کی شہادت کی خبر امام کو ملی، امام کو کتنا صدمہ ہوا تھا۔ لیکن اس وقت عباس بھی باقی تھے، علی اکبر بھی ساتھ تھے، قاسم بھی تھے، اصحاب بھی تھے، انصار بھی تھے، سب ساتھ تھے۔ امام نے جو مصیبت عاشور کے دن امام نے جس کا سامنا کیا ہے عزادارو، اس مصیبت میں عزادارو ایک منظر پیش کرتا ہوں۔ آپ امام حسین علیہ السلام کو امام نہیں بلکہ ایک باپ سمجھ کے سوچئے کہ ایک باپ کو آواز آتی ہے، یا ابت علیک منی سلام، یا دوسری خبر یہ ملتی ہے، یا ابت ادرکنی۔ یہ آواز کس کی تھی؟ جوان فرزند علی اکبر کی آواز تھی۔ بس عزادارو، امام حسین علیہ السلام نے جب یہ آواز سنی ہے، تاریخ کہتی ہے کہ امام کے آنکھوں میں اندھیرا آ گیا، جوان فرزند پکار رہا ہے، امام دوڑے ہیں۔ تاریخ کہتی ہے کہ جب امام دوڑتے تھے تو امام کہتے تھے، این علی، این علی، اے علی اکبر تم کہاں ہو؟ عزادارو، ایسا لگتا ہے کہ جب علی اکبر کے سینے میں برچھی لگی ہے عزادارو، اس وقت علی اکبر گھوڑے پر تھے، کوشش کر رہے تھے خیمے کی طرف جائے، اور گھوڑا ایک طرف چلتا تھا پھر دوسری طرف چلتا تھا۔ علی اکبر باپ کو بلا رہے تھے، این علی، این علی۔ لیکن عزادارو، اب یہ باپ کو کی مظلومیت کو دیکھیے، جب پہنچے ہیں تو علی اکبر زمین پر تھے، اور علی اکبر نے اپنے سینے پر اپنا ہاتھ رکھا تھا۔ عزادارو، جوان فرزند نہیں چاہتا تھا بوڑھے باپ کو پتہ چلے کہ اس کے سینے میں نیزے کی برچھی لگی ہوئی ہے۔ عزادارو، جب امام نے ہاتھ ہٹایا اور دیکھا تو ایک مرتبہ زمین کربلا پر بیٹھ کے امام نے کہا، بسم اللہ و باللہ، اور جب کھینچا ہے عزادارو، جوان فرزند نے دم توڑا، علی اکبر کی روح جنت کی طرف پرواز گئی۔ بوڑھا باپ جوان فرزند کو دیکھ رہا ہے، کیسے جوان فرزند نے اپنا دم توڑا۔ اور اب عزادارو، اب دوسرا منظر آپ کو سناؤں۔ حسین کو ایک باپ کی نظر سے دیکھے، چشمائے ہاتھ میں ہے، پانی مانگنے کے لیے امام علی اصغر کو لے گئے، لیکن خود بوڑھا باپ دیکھ رہا ہے اپنی آنکھوں سے، ارے علی اصغر کے گلے پر تیر لگی۔ اس باپ نے چشمہ کے گلے سے تیر کو کھینچا۔ وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ اللهم بحق محمد وانت المحمود، وبحق علي وانت الأعلى، وبحق فاطمة وانت فاطر السماوات والأرضين، وبحق الحسن وانت المحسن، وبحق الحسين وانت قديم الإحسان، وبحق 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين عليهم السلام۔ بار الہ، ہماری اس قلیل عزاداری کو تیری بارگاہ میں قبول فرما۔ بار الہ، یہ مجلس کا ثواب، یہ قرآن کی تلاوت اور یہ مرثیہ جو بھی ذکر ہم نے کیا ہے، اس سب کا ثواب مرحومہ سکینہ بائی رجبلی راشد کی روح کو تو بخش دے۔ بار الہ، مرحومہ کے سب گناہان کبیرہ اور صغیرہ کو معاف کر دے۔ بار الہ، مرحومہ کے درجات کو بلند فرما، مرحومہ پر رحمت نازل فرما، बार इलाहा जो जो मुमिनीन मुमिनात बीमार हैं उनको शिफाए आजिल और सेहत कामिल अता फरमा। हमारे सब मरहूमीन के गुनाह ने कबीरा और सगीरा को माफ़ कर दे। बार इलाहा जो जो मुमिनीन मुमिनात तकलीफ़ और मुश्किलों में हैं, बार इलाहा ख़ास तौर पे फ़लस्तीन और गज़ा में जो तकलीफ़ों में हैं उनकी तकलीफ़ों और मुश्किलों को दूर फरमा। बार इलाहा उलमाए दीन का साया हमारे सर पर बाकी रखना। तेरी हुज्जत इमाम ज़माना के ज़ुहूर में ताजील फरमा, उनके अस्हाब और अंसार में हमको शामिल करना। वसल्लल्लाहु अला मुहम्मदिन व आलिहि त्ताहिरीन इला अरवाहि अमवातिल मुमिनीन वल मुमिनात रहिमल्लाहु मन क़रा अल फ़ातिहा। बिस्मिल्लाह।
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. I will now request Brother Abbas Rashid, who is Marhuma's nephew, to come and say a few words. Please let's welcome him with a loud Nari salawat.
Mara wadilo, bayo and beno. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I was requested by my aunt, Najma Bai, Rajabali Rashid, to say a few words on behalf of the family. So I want to sincerely thank you all for attending this Chalisma Majlis. Dr. Sakina Bai Rajabali Rashid was born in Kampala, Uganda in 1938. She was the fifth of 11 children. Of those 11 children, only 2 remain. One is my father, Muhammad Rajabali Rajabali Rashid, and my aunt Najma Bai. We've come here in the USA. We've come here from the USA. Myself and my father, and also my mother and brother are here. Of those 11 siblings, 4 passed away at a young age, and they're buried in Uganda. My Wadabapa is buried in Newfoundland. We have 1 aunt in California. The remaining 3 Marhuma sisters are buried in here in Peterborough, along with my grandparents. That's my Darabapa, who we called Ada, and my Dadima, Fatma Bai. And also my Fua is buried here in Peterborough, Shirley Bai Sachedina. So there was all those siblings, but the household was even larger than that. We had my great uncle Pyarali Bai and my great aunt Kulsum Bai and their children, Shabir Bai, Shabira Bai, Rashid. And then also my grandfather's 5 young boy cousins. They were orphaned at a very young age. So they were from Barara. So that's the John Muhammad and Bogaria families. And so they were all adopted by my grandfather, and they all became immediate family as well. All 5 of those brothers are also buried in Kampala. The last aunt of that generation, Fatma Bai Hassan Ali John Muhammad, recently passed away. We just commemorated her Chalisma Majlis in Stanmore. So from this entire multi-generational family, largely under one roof, it was this aunt of ours, Marhuma Sakina Bai Rashid, who the family decided to send overseas from Uganda to become a doctor. She had done well in school, and she showed the enthusiasm for it. And it was my great uncle, Pyarali Bai, who was eager to finance her education, the early part of her education, and he wanted to send her here to the UK. But you can imagine at that time in the 1950s how sending a girl overseas to study would have been viewed. So it was the Desi principal of her school who advised my grandfather not to do that. So much to my uncle's disappointment, she instead went first to India for her A-levels at Sophia College in Bombay, and then to Pakistan at a medical college in Lahore to study to become a doctor. So even going to that part of the world was still a very revolutionary idea at the time for a girl. And when my Dada Bapa was questioned by those in the community, why would he send his daughter overseas like that to study? So he would respond, who is going to be the doctor then for the ladies in our community? And so maybe for that reason, she ended up specializing in obstetrics and gynecology. It wasn't easier for her though. First, the education was very demanding. Once my father told me that she didn't perform well on one of her exams, so she sent a letter home saying she felt like she was letting the family down. But my Dada Bapa was very close to her. He told her not to worry, just to try the exam again. And then she had told me also that she missed so many events and occasions in the family, both happy ones and sad ones, while she was overseas, including many of her uncles passing. Then the hostile conditions over there at that time were not very nice, and she would become homesick. One of my aunts, Marhuma Leila, she was a leader among the siblings, kind of a mother figure also to my father. And just a side note, so I have two daughters. One is named Sakina and one is named Leila, in part after these pillars, these aunts of mine who were pillars in the family. So Marhuma Leila and her sisters, they gave extra tuition lessons so that their sister could come join us one holiday, because most holidays she wasn't able to come home. It was a difficult journey to come home. She'd have to take the boat to Mombasa, and then from there was a almost 700-mile train ride to Kampala. After she finished her studies in that part of the world, she interned at Mulaga Hospital in Kampala. Then it seemed like the government was going to force her to go to one of the remote areas of the country. So through some contacts of her physician, she was able to come to this part of the world, first in Newtonards in Ireland, and then Sheffield, and then she eventually worked in Sunderland. So this coincided with the exodus from Uganda, and this may have been Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan, that she was able to look after and support my grandparents in this part of the world, and my aunts while they were young, early on in the UK, at that time, because my father, he came to the USA, so was separated by a whole ocean from the rest of the family. When my Dada Bapa passed away and was buried here in Peterborough, so I believe it was Maulana Shamim Sibtain Marhum, he mentioned that my grandfather in his elder years, he lived with his daughters, and they were the ones who looked after him, and he was praising those daughters. And this aunt, Marhuma Sakina Bai, was a big part of that. She was a very wise and humble person. You would never know from meeting her that she had such an accomplished career. She declined some jobs in her career because they would have been problematic for our faith. And then also when she performed her Hajj, she volunteered as well within the caravan in her capacity as a doctor. She was generous and a loving person, very wise person, and she used to spare no expense to make our stays enjoyable when I was growing up. We have so many great memories of visiting here in the UK. I share all of this with you for a couple of reasons. First, so I believe the success of my generation now has so much to do with how hard our elders worked, beginning with the risks they took, coming in our case from Kutch, settling in East Africa, and then their struggles also when they arrived here. So our generation is becoming very successful now. We now have a mayor of New York City who's part of this same community. Many here probably grew up knowing their families. But there's so much that paved the way for him and others that started with how hard our elders worked for us. It saddens me sometimes when we attend a funeral of someone who was a pillar in the community, but many attend from the next generation and they don't know anything about them. So I hope here, if Peterborough Jamaat is not already doing that, then they honor our marhumin in that way. The second reason for sharing this with you is because I wish you all to consider us part of your family. It may sound like we had a large family, but there's very few of us now remaining. None of us are local here to Peterborough. We're scattered across the UK, and in my father's case, we're a whole ocean away in the United States. When my Dada Baba passed away in 1980, my great uncle, Pyarli Bhai Rashid, he addressed this same gathering in Gujarati. And it was an emotional speech. He said, this was my father, my brother, and my mother, because they were very young when they lost their parents. So they were orphaned from a very young age. And they had a very rough childhood, but it was my grandfather who raised him. And again, I believe it was Maulana Shamim Sibtain Marhum. He suggested to him that he request the community members, when they go to the Qabristan, to please remember our family's Marhumin here in the Peterborough Qabristan, because again, we're not local to here. In the early days, this was as many of you know, this was the main Qabristan for those residing in all these relatively northern areas of the UK. And in our family, we've continued to have our Marhumin buried here. When you visit the Qabristan, please remember them with the Surah Fatiha and consider us as part of your family if you have the chance, and remember to do so. Finally, most importantly, I wish to close and mention that we also feel very much a part of this community, despite not residing here. Anytime we have a death in the family, the Jamaat here always steps up. This goes back many years, 45 years, and does the work in such a selfless and noble way. It removes so much of the stress for those who live here, especially my aunt Najma Bai and my cousin Rima. Every community is only as good as its volunteers. Our Marhumin in our family from these northern parts of the UK, they've all been buried here, and it was never a question for us of where we wanted them to be buried, in large part because we know we're in such good hands. In particular, this passing away in the family was even more so because my aunt passed away on a Friday. Somehow the Jamaat worked very hard and promised that if the paperwork was in order on our end, they would be able to hold the funeral the next day. My father wasn't able to be here for the funeral, but again, we knew we were in good hands with this Jamaat and with our own people. So a very sincere thank you to this entire community, including the wonderful lecture we heard today, to all the volunteers, especially to the excellent funeral and ghusl committees of this Jamaat. So thank you all. I've taken up so much of your time, but for giving me the opportunity to speak and address all of you. Please again recite Surah Fatiha for the Marhuma. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bar Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad salawat. I now request Sister Tahira Bai Bojani also to say a few words. Can we please request you for a loud Nare Salawat? Can I please request one of the committee ladies to be kind enough to escort Sister Tahira Bai Bojani in R1 to deliver her speech, Asant. Bar Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much for allowing me a few minutes to talk about this wonderful lady, Sakina Rashid. So if I'm a little emotional, please bear with me. So I knew Sakina bin from the Newcastle Jamaat. My parents were Ghulam Hussain Bojani and Amir Banu Bojani, and they were some of the founding members of the Newcastle Shia Jamaat. And we had a number of Punjabi Shias and Iranian Shias, but we also had some Khoja Shias. And Rajabali uncle and Fatma auntie were Gujarati-speaking Khoja Shias. My parents had a great affinity for them. And they had these two amazing daughters, Sakina and Najma. And for me, growing up, I was a young girl when I met Sakina, and she was a doctor. And I aspired to be a doctor, and my parents had an enormous amount of respect for Sakina and Najma. And for that reason, I we saw a lot of them. As I said, they were Gujarati speaking, so my parents really enjoyed their company. And one of the most interesting things about Dr. Sakina was in spite of being a doctor, highly educated, highly eloquent, highly elegant, she was actually very softly spoken. And for someone like me who grew up with brothers and we were all quite loud, and Najma won't mind me saying this, she too was quite loud. But I actually looked at Sakina and understood something, that one does not have to raise one's voice to command value. And Sakina was somebody who, with a quiet command, was exceptional. Obviously, she was a consultant at the hospital. She was very good at her job. And she was somebody I aspired to be like. So, even though I shared commonality with Najma from a personality point of view, I always wanted to be like Sakina. Over time, I saw, and my parents pointed out, not only what a good doctor she was, but actually what a good daughter she was. She looked after her parents, and when Rajab uncle actually died unexpectedly, I remember my mum telling me that Sakina had arranged for a room for her mum at the hospital so that she could be looked after during the day. And these kinds of things that my parents pointed out about Dr. Sakina resonated with me, because she was not just an example of a good doctor, she was now an example of a good daughter. Years later, I remember when her sister Leila came to stay with her, and Sakina and Najma and Leila all lived together. My mum again pointed out to me what a good sister she was. So these are, I know our culture and our community often celebrate the mothers and wives in our community, but we used to look at the daughters and the sisters that these ladies were, and we had something to admire and look up to. The other very interesting thing about Dr. Sakina was that she was actually very God conscious. And I still remember her telling me one day that she was traveling, and she and Najma both said, when we travel, the first thing that goes in our suitcase is our prayer mat. And I remember thinking, do you know, I often forget to pack my prayer mat, and these ladies, the first thing they do is they put their musla in their suitcase. And to this day, whenever I'm traveling and I'm a bit slow about putting my prayer mat in my suitcase, I think of these ladies who put their prayer mats first. I have been a surgeon for a number of years. I do a surgical list in Scotland quite regularly. And when I drive up from Leicester to Scotland, I will often drive past Peterlee. I go on the A1 and I see the sign for Peterlee where Sakina and Najma used to live. And I always think of them because the sign is actually on the A1. And one of my biggest regrets is the number of times that I drove past and I didn't think that I used to think maybe I should just go and visit, but it's not something that I did. And I always think it's very sad that we take time to come to a funeral, we take time to come to a Chalisma, but wouldn't it be nice, instead of saying farewell, that we often visited more to say hello? So Najma, rest assured, the next time I'm driving up, I'm going to rock up and to the house in Peterlee and see the beautiful garden that you mentioned to me. Inshallah. I think I've said almost everything I want to say about Sakina. I would like us to say a Fatiha for all the mothers, all the sisters and daughters, because we are always celebrating the mothers, but the sisters and daughters in our community, for Sakina, for Najma, please let's say a Fatiha. Thank you.
الصلاة والسلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني سلامي أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله الآخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبو الفضل العباس يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، مقاصد بن الحسن ومسلم بن عقيل وهاني بن عروة وحبيب بن مظاهر والهر الشهيد الرياح. السلام عليك يا ساداتي وموالي جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمام زماننا هذا، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.